All right, Todd here with Jeep Speed Shop. Here we have our Gladiator, 2021 Gladiator. This is 6.4 liter Hemi engine. This was out of another Jeep we had, and I pulled it out a long time ago, and it's been sitting in the back of the shop for a while. So I was going to put this in our 69 Roadrunner, but we bought this Gladiator and decided we're going to start building a Hemi kit for the Gladiator and the JL. So we're going to talk about this for a minute. I'm going to do a bunch of short segments on this conversion to talk about why and how come and what we find, and maybe somebody can add some content and say, hey, this or that, or what do you think? Because hey, here's my engineering skills at work on how I think it should go and what we're going to do here. So this, like I said, is a 6.4. It's an older one, but it has the 5.7 Grand Cherokee accessory drive, which I'm not sure will work. Maybe not. I don't know, because this AC compressor doesn't have that plug in the back, which I think our JL doesn't either, and it doesn't even have a spot for it. So it's confusing on what that does. I'll have to do research on why and do I need it and so on. So back to this. I mean, here's our gap here, right, from the AC compressor, and I can make more gap there. I can cut this part of the boss off. This is what we used to do, cut the angle deal, put an Allen inside or whatever, and we don't do that no more. So I'll probably cut this back so I gain more room, because we're going to put a big bore box in this. And we're mocking up motor mounts right now. Trying to reuse the mounts from the JT. We'll see if that'll work. But here's something big, right? So we have a power steering pump. This is from a Grand Cherokee, and it won't work with the 6.4 because the intake goes this way, right? And so this reservoir will be a problem on this setup, but they make a reservoir that's cut out for the air intake tube. And then you obviously see all this stuff is going to be a problem because it's in the way, right, for an air filter to be there. So we're going to work on that, relocating the computer and the washer bottle and making some room for that. But really the big thing here is, so on all these car engines, the alternator is down here. When they did the 392 JL, they put the alternator up here, right? And then it's just in the way of radiator hoses and so on. Because, oh wow, look at that. Thermostat's no good either. So yeah, that's fine. But we're going to do a dual pass radiator, and on our JL, that's a single pass. So hoses are going all over in the coolant tank and all that. We're not going to run a coolant tank. We're going to do it like our JK. I'm going to build a lot of this like our JK setup. But back to what I was going to get at here. So the alternator's here, right? Here's your electric power steering pump. Obviously, the two can't share the same area. So it's hard to run electric power steering and have this alternator here. Pretty much a no-go, right? So if you're doing this conversion, and also you'll see the battery box to the coils, with the coils aren't on there, but no real room. The reason why we build a battery box for our JKs, because we move everything, the battery box that way, so that we have more room here in case we got to pull a valve cover or do work. Because everybody always asks me, how come you got a battery box? Well, that's the reason why. And here's a good way of showing you this is no bueno. But we're gonna do it a couple different ways. So if somebody wants to do it on the cheap, hey, you can run all this junk. You could do it this way, it will work, but this will be a problem if you're going to run this engine, right? So if you're going to run power steering pump like we are, but we're not going to run this one, we're going to run a PSC setup, and we'll go with that later. But mainly I'm talking about this. So alternator, electric power steering, no bueno. That's obviously not going to work. This is a problem. So I do know a fix for that, and I'll walk over to or 14. So here we go. Alternator's now up here, right? And you look down there, you really can't see, but there's nothing down there. So you could run electric power steering if you do this engine, the truck Hemi. So this is a 5.7 liter truck Hemi, you know, 09 to 25. And this is the one we use when we do all the stuff in Australia too, because of their right-hand drive deal. So everything's on this side, the alternator, the power steering, the AC. So everything's out of the way for you running stuff on this side, the power, you know, on the passenger side. So, you know, this is going to be an option for a guy that goes, hey, I don't want to buy a pump and I don't want to do this. You want to do it on the cheap. I get it. So guess what you're going to do? You're using this engine, because obviously the car engines are all the same. Alternators are all in the same spot. And back to this setup here. So on this Grand Cherokee, you can see the bolts going through the front. There's a lot of room down there because the alternator's more tucked that way. I just don't know if this is going to work exactly, because the AC compressor only has the clutch wire. It doesn't have the rear. I don't know if we need that yet, so we're going to try to muddle through all that. There's going to be a lot of conversation and bits and pieces on this whole deal, right? So yeah, I don't know about that part. So, but this is a problem. And if you run a car motor, this is the greatest alternator. It's awesome, but this engine's shorter this way, right? And so you can't run the other alternator, which is, and the other Jeep that we have, which, let's see if I can walk over to that over here. It is here, but it's not really good to see. But you can kind of see the alternator there. It is like, you know, we had to shorten the bolts and it's really close to the frame. The other alternator's not, so it gives us more room, you know, all of this stuff here. So, all right, well, we're just gonna start touching base on some of this stuff and talk about it. And if anybody's got comments on this deal, this one here is also running our JK mounts, so engine mounts. They bolted right in this thing. Kind of cool. Made it simple. But if you use my bolt-in mounts and a JL, you can only use the car engines, can't use a truck. So, all right. Okay, well, that's a bit of this deal, where mainly this conversation's all about the alternator interfering with the electric power steering. And I don't know if I'm really a big fan of it or not. I'm not sure if I want to run that, and I don't think any of our Jeeps are going to run that. So this is a no-go for me. But if you're trying to do all this on a budget, the only engine you could use is a truck motor, you know, the VBT truck engine, where, you know, the alternator is going to be over here, power steering, AC compressor, all that layout. So just a little accessory drive conversation here. Like I said, this is the 0910 short water pump Grand Cherokee accessory drive. It's a 5.7 accessory drive on a 6.4, which works awesome. I use this in everything if I can. But our JL has the 6.4 with the standard accessory drive for a 6.4, and they're all the same. All the car 5.7s and 6.4s, the accessory drives are the same. So it's just a little longer, you know, about another ½ inch or an inch. And then the alternator placement's stupid on the other engine. I don't know why they just didn't stay with that. So timing covers are all the same. It's just the way this alternator mounts is different. The other one comes in from the side, which is interfering for us. You know, maybe it worked for them and their Challengers and Chargers and whatever, but for us it was a problem. So yeah, so here's our clearance too for the this is a standard box for a JT, and we'll talk about the big bore deal later. And yeah, all right, that's the end of this video. We're going to do plenty of these, talk about each step of this process and work through this thing. And if you guys have comments, or if there's any, you know, something I missed or something you think about, chime in. You know, Tell me what you think, and we'll kind of go from there. We're going to build this thing piece by piece and talk about it the whole way through. All right, Jeep Speed Shop out.